Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. And I am joined here, as always, by the man who would never record himself doing a dance on another team's logo on TikTok. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good, and that is definitely true because I have no rhythm, so therefore I would look foolish doing it. But yeah, the fraudulent Steelers. The fraudulent Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, all right. Take it easy. We'll calm down. Before we get into the show, just letting everyone know we have we started the official Twitter account for this show. So if you want to follow that, the link is in the description below. But yeah, let's just jump into it. So you are fired up. I'll let you take the floor.
Oh man, this was just disgusting, wasn't it? I was in the middle of a draft and then came on and looked at a little bit of the stats in the second before the second half picked up. And it was like, I think at halftime, Big Ben was 7 of 16 for like 19 yards. Like just a complete abomination. This was just embarrassing to see. This is not a team, Steelers fans were trying to convince us this team was better than Kansas City. I
said that if Pittsburgh, so I'm going to be the Pittsburgh defender here, I guess, because I was higher on Pittsburgh than you were. I mean, I do think that we have to bring the injuries into account. Like, I don't think it's fair to completely bash this team when they have been riddled with injuries. There's a reason why they're performing not as good. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of reasons not counting injuries, but I do think that it's not fair to just, not mention Bud Dupree, who was, probably going to have there's a real chance that him and TJ Watt were both going to be on all pros in the same position. That's not happening now because he's hurt. Like I think we have to bring these things up.
Yeah, we can bring it up. We can talk about it. But at the same time, Bud Dupree's not running the football. Bud Dupree's not catching passes. Their two biggest injuries are on defense, and their defense is still miles ahead of what this offense is. And when this passing game's looking like this team is awful offensively because they can't run the ball. It doesn't matter who they play. They can't run the football. And if they're going to throw the ball like this and can't get the ball downfield, this offense they're going to lose in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, that seems pretty likely. I wouldn't be shocked. I see Eli Mullen in the chat. We feel sorry, Eli, for your Pittsburgh Steelers. But yeah, I mean, you're very right. And I think that there's a lot of problems with this Steelers offense that was masked when the Steelers defense was dominant, and it's not dominant anymore. That's kind of my point. But yeah, I mean, Roethlisberger was obviously not good, but there's a lot of issues with this offense. I think that they could use a true number one receiver. I know they have like 4 number 2 receivers, but I do feel like there's certain plays where having a guy who can just beat man coverage consistently would help because they weren't able to get open too much against Cincinnati, which is not great. I thought Cincinnati played well. I do. Everyone's talking about the Steelers because they're the story, but I thought Cincinnati did play a good football game. But yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. They need to work on their offense. They need to work on their offensive line because basically everyone on the line is either hurt or they're someone in the 30s who they were relying on to play like someone in their 20s, and it hasn't worked out too well, except David DeCastro has been fine. But it just hasn't been a success on the offensive line. Ben didn't play well, even despite all of the issues. And this offense is not good enough to win with this defense now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I said it in the offseason. I'll say it again. It's almost like the Pittsburgh Steelers are one of the best wide receivers of all time and an elite level running back from being a really competitive team and a Super Bowl contender.
Right.
Good thing they got rid of both. I mean, I shouldn't joke like that because if I were in their shoes, I would have got rid of both of those guys.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure
Le'Veon Bell has looked.
They would love Le'Veon Bell right now,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Le'Veon Bell would fit right in with this offense right now because he has no explosiveness left. But I mean, I do think Antonio Brown would have helped. But
I mean, you can't. I mean, he lost his mind.
Just a weird situation.
Yeah.
So I mean, but yeah, I don't see it with this team, man. I really don't. I know that this is kind of like the worst we've seen them all year, but I really don't see it with this team. I don't know how it gets better or even good enough to win in the playoffs this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally fair. Like with this line, it's the worst Steelers line we've seen in over a decade. It just is. And Roethlisberger is not what he once was. And I do feel like this quick passing attack, it was working to a certain degree, but teams know how to counteract it now. And it's a mess. The Steelers, I think their defense is fun. I would like to see them play better on offense because I feel like they have a lot of fun playmakers once they can get the ball, but it's hard to get it in their hands. And they have to improve, and they're running out of time to do it.
Yeah. I said it last week. There's one team that comes up and surprises or is really impressive, and we all are bought in when they're 9-1, 10-0, 11-0, something like that. Last year was my team with the Patriots. We were the most fraudulent 9-0 team in the league. There was no reason we should have been 9-0. It was all riding that defense. This is probably that team this year. If they can't move the ball with any consistency, I could easily see them losing in the first round. I just don't see it happening with this team right now. They look like the Bears of the AFC, and not in a good way.
Maybe that's why I like them more than you do.
I guess so.
Yeah. I mean, there probably is something to that. Just what we value in terms of football. But yeah, I mean, unless their offensive line, unless some of the guys on the offensive line can just sort of revert back to, if Marquise Pouncey, that's Pro Bowler Marquise Pouncey, if he can, come back and actually start playing like a Pro Bowler, maybe they can find a way to get things working. But until then, it's not looking good. But who knows? We'll talk a little bit more about both these teams when we pick their games. But let's just start with that. Let's talk about the Pro Bowl for a second, because I have some thoughts. I'm sure you have some thoughts as well. My biggest frustration with the Pro Bowl, forget who got in and who didn't. How are we still at a point where we don't just have edge rushers and linebackers? How are we still at the point where it's defensive ends and outside linebackers? So basically 6 edge rushers and only 3 linebackers are getting in. How have we still not figured this out?
I mean, that's a good point. I didn't even think about it that way, but it is a weird thing. I brought this up in the offseason when we did our Fix the NFL podcast. Mm-hmm. This just needs to be a 7-on-7 tournament in the middle of the season, a 7-on-7 flag football tournament in the midseason. And, you could put an offensive and defensive lineman in on it for comedic purposes, and they can do a different competition too. But I don't get why we do this. And, because these rosters look so goofy and there's no actual makeup to these teams at all. But, and then not to mention it's all a popularity contest because guys like James Robinson, it has been one of the top 3 or 4 best running backs in the league, isn't even getting a spot on the roster. The Pro Bowl stinks.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's fair. I mean, I thought, there's plenty of guys you could talk about with, I thought Emmanuel Ogbah, who I see someone in the chat saying he got snubbed. Eli Mullen asked, who are your biggest stubs? To me, number 1 is DeForest Buckner. Like, I don't get how he doesn't end up on there. And also, maybe one of the reasons why I'm bringing up the outside linebacker thing is because Levante David, for years, he played outside linebacker in a 4-3, which meant that he was getting compared to edge rushers. And of course, everyone's going to pick the guys who have stats, and a sack is a good stat. So he's still never been a Pro Bowler, despite being a first-team All-Pro and a very good chance of him being a Hall of Famer. So that's my point about the Pro Bowl. If Levante David has never outright been selected to a Pro Bowl, he's only been an alternate, something's wrong with your system.
No. Yeah, I mean, I agree. And then the linebacker position was so tough this year, too. Like, you look at some of those guys on there, like, someone brought up Devin White on here, and it's like, yeah, I get it. But at the same time, it's really, if Fred Warner or Bobby Wagner didn't make the Pro Bowl, we'd be upset about that, too. I do think they need to revamp this a little bit and change it up to, like, the modern times of NFL. I guess as far as snubs go, like I said, I think Robinson was probably one of the bigger snubs for skill position guys.
Mm-hmm.
I like Josh Jacobs. I think he's a good running back. Do I think he was a Pro Bowl running back this year? Probably not. I thought that should have been Robinson's spot. I do think Wyatt Teller was robbed, and Robert Tunyon was robbed because Evan Ingram getting in was so goofy.
Yeah, that was. I mean, well, I actually didn't. Okay, I wouldn't have picked Ingram, but I don't think it was like he is second in the NFC in receiving yards. Like there is some logic. Like I thought that people were like, and his blocking I think has gotten better this year. He drops too many passes, but like I don't think that it's like if there was 3 tight ends, I'd probably pick him. I just think Tunyon had 10 touchdowns, so you had to give it to him. But I didn't think it was like absurd. And I thought Roquan Smith is another guy who is, but it got like we said, because they for whatever reason want to like have no linebackers and all of the edge rushers. Just make the Pro Bowl 20 edge rushers on each conference.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. And I was, I go to the Pro Bowl usually because I live in Orlando. I'm not going to go this year. There's not even going to be one this year, I don't believe. But like I remember last year, like Shaq Barrett, he was, outside linebacker who made it, and now he's just playing outside linebacker because they play 4-3 in the Pro Bowl. So now he's just stuck in an outside line. So the NFL leading sack leader is just playing coverage the whole game. It makes no sense.
Have they still banned blitzing in the Pro Bowl too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he basically is.
Yeah, so he's just playing coverage the whole. Because why would you play a 3-4? It's the most absurd system. But you gotta love it. You gotta love it. Let's move on. And I actually kind of like the Pro Bowl game. I know I'm the only person. I'm the guy who likes it. Let's move on. Let's talk about. I like this as well. Oh man, you're on a. Why in the world would you pick against both the Jets and the Bengals? Great job by me giving you one of those games. The other one undrafted. But Kyle, you fought back. You took the lead, only to now be down 3 once again. Because remember, it's like golf. Lowest score wins.
I like the upsets, but that was frustrating. I think I had a 1-point deficit going into this week, and yeah, my 2 picks were the Rams to beat the Jets and the Steelers to beat the Bengals. So I'm not overly mad about it actually, because it's like, if I did it, it's not like I completely whiffed on a game. If I pick those games 100 times, I'm taking the Rams 100 times, and I'm taking the Steelers 100 times. It was fluky. So I'm going to bounce back this week.
Well, I mean, I gave you the Bengals, so I deserve some credit for that.
I guess.
Let's just say I've been incredible this season. I'm just on a roll.
Luck's going to bounce back in my favor.
Okay.
I got this.
Luck, sure, yeah. Bill Belichick, he's a big fan of this show. He emailed me and was like, your picks this season, incredible. How are you doing it?
I don't think you really did that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Big fan of the show, Bill Belichick. Shout out to him. All right, so now you're losing because you're not as good as me. What game are you going to give me first to pick correctly, probably?
This is one of the rare weeks where we have a lot of the marquee games at the top, I think. But I'm not actually going to give you the marquee game first. I'm giving you a game that I really don't want anything to do with. I don't even want to watch it, honestly. Carolina at Washington. You can go ahead and take that one first overall.
Wow, Carolina at Washington. You and I are on completely different wavelengths in this one. You give it to me first overall. I'm locking it up right off the bat. I have Washington covering a 2.5-point spread. I think this is or did I say Carolina? Washington is the team I'm picking. Washington's going to cover the 2.5-point spread. I think that they care more. And for Carolina, I'm tired of talking about all of these 1-score losses. They at a certain point, you got to put it together and win a game. And I just don't know if I trust Teddy Bridgewater against this defensive line. I think it's going to do some nightmares. I like what I saw from Carolina's defense. They've been definitely, I think, one of the position groups I've been more surprised by this season. They've done well. They haven't done tremendous, but they've done well. But I think Washington, they're not used to scoring, so that shouldn't be much of an issue. I think they will be able to score a little bit. I don't know what their quarterback situation is, because the last we saw from Dwayne Haskins, he was partying with strippers after a loss with no mask on. Not sure if a mask would have made too much of a difference, but still not great optics there from Dwayne Haskins. So that's an issue, but I'm still going to lock it up. I think Washington is the better football team.
So you don't trust Teddy Bridgewater, but you're going to trust a team that potentially doesn't know who's playing quarterback
Well,
a
because
few
there's
a few
more to
days
one
before that.
position in football.
Yeah, but
If Teddy Bridgewater was playing for the balls, then I'd feel a lot more confident in them. I'm just saying I don't know if I trust Teddy Bridgewater to go against this defense. I don't know. It's really not. I'm. It's the whole offense. It's not just Bridgewater, but I just don't think that their offense will be able to do what they like to do against this Washington defense that gets pressure consistently.
yeah, I mean, the sound argument. I'm going the other way on this one because it would be hilarious if the 6-9, that's right, 6-9 Washington Balls are playing the 5-9-1 Philadelphia Eagles for the division. So it would be hilarious if Panthers win this one and set up that Week 17 bout. So I'm going Carolina for no other reason but that. It'd be funny.
Despite that making zero sense, that's actually a really at that point makes me concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just the fact that we all want to see this winner take all game. Maybe the NFL will rig it so the Panthers win, so they can put
Roger Goodell's going to make a few phone calls.
Yeah,
it's going to happen. We're going to flex this Washington Eagles game that nobody wants to watch onto Sunday night. It's going to have the Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth treatment, and that's what we're getting. It's happening. So
hey,
I got Panthers.
Just saying. Dwayne Haskins. We already had it come out. Dwayne Haskins partying with strippers. The video. Maybe was that? Did Goodell say, "Hey, Dwayne, I have a friend."
Yeah, I have a friend. Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what's going to happen. Like I said, I have no other argument for it other than whoever's playing quarterback for Washington could throw them out of this game. But it's going to happen that way because we all need it to happen that way. So I'll gladly give you this one. You can lock it up and lose 2 points. My comeback begins here.
Yeah, that's incredible logic. I feel foolish. I picked against the rigged game. If there's bad calls against it, I'm going to, I don't know, be upset. Let's move on. I'm going to give you a game now. I'm going to give you one of the marquee matchups. I'm going to give you Titans-Packers. Who do you got?
All right. So finally the Packers play a good team. They've played like one good team all year. I'm just kidding. They've played like 3 good teams all year. All right. I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans. It's going to make it a little more interesting for Week 17, and Derrick Henry is going to rush for like 200 yards on this run defense. So I got the Tennessee Titans winning this one.
I mean, yeah, that's like this game. There should be 1 billion points in this one. I don't think there's going to be a single stop all game because, and I'm not sure if there's going to be points because there'll be a lot of running, but definitely there's not going to be many stops. Yeah, I mean, for the Packers, it's like this is your worst nightmare. Your running game has been bad all year. Okay, here comes the best running game in football. And oh, by the way, Ryan Tannehill has a passer rating this season of 110. Like, no one's talking about him. Personally, I would have him as a Pro Bowl quarterback over Josh Allen. I know that might be controversial to say, but I do think he's been incredible this season. I think this offense is incredible. I think the flip side is, and I have Tennessee winning this game as well, but the flip side, of course, is just Green Bay also has probably, an MVP candidate in Aaron Rodgers, and their offense has been ridiculous too. The Titans defense, not great. And this seems like the kind of thing where they're really going to have to find a way to get some stops. And while the one thing about Tannehill that hasn't been great is we have seen him throughout his career have some turnover-prone games. This year he's been pretty good at it, but Rodgers never turns the ball over. So if it comes down to turnovers, you got to think the favor would be in Green Bay.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do feel like it's kind of a toss-up. Interesting thing about this game, these two teams have some huge variances. Green Bay is number 2 in offensive DVOA, and Tennessee's number 3. Defensive side, Green Bay's 18th and Tennessee's 28th overall. So it's going to tell you how much, naturally it's going to be like 17-14 in the fourth quarter or something.
Yeah, like exactly.
So, but, I do think this is going to be a really fun game to watch. This is probably one any football fan's going to want to tune into. But I do feel like Tennessee is going to be able to control the clock a little bit and control possessions. And while I still think a ton of points are going to be scored, if they're able to control this fourth quarter, that could be all that matters.
Yeah, and for Green Bay, they're fighting for a number one spot. For Tennessee, it's the playoffs aren't guaranteed just yet. There still is this opportunity for them to miss out. You do think if they win this one, it basically will be, and they have Houston next week, so they're in good shape. But they barely beat Houston last time, so both teams are. It's not just two good teams, but it's two good teams in Week 16 that really want to win this football game. So I'm glad it's Sunday night. This is great job, schedule makers, on the Sunday night game.
Yes, good job. Can't wait for this one. Yeah, do you have anything else to add?
No, I'm good. Let's move on. Time for you to give
All
a
right.
game.
All right, I'll move on here with I'll do this one. This is probably the number 2 game of the week. This is a nice 1:00 one that everyone's going to tune into. Colts at Steelers.
Yes, I feel like there's 3 great games. This is the second of them. I'm going to give you the third in a second. Yeah, Colts Steelers. It's so tough, right? Because I couldn't imagine a couple weeks ago picking against Pittsburgh with the Colts, but that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to pick the Indianapolis Colts. So all the people that say I'm a Colts hater, how about that? Although I've definitely come around on them as the season has gone on. So maybe former Colts hater, now Colts lover. I'm picking them over Pittsburgh, and I just don't see how the Steelers offense is going to get any. If you struggled against Cincinnati, well, here you go. Here's Indianapolis, which I actually feel like is a great matchup for Indianapolis on defense. On top of that, and on offense, I think that it's going to be tricky. I do, and I do think that if the Steelers win this game, it's probably going to be because of TJ Watt. But they have TJ Watt. They have playmakers on defense. So there is an opportunity. That's why I think it's a good pick here at number 3.
Yeah, I think Colts offensive line's good enough, or it is a good offensive line, and I think it's going to be good enough against this depleted Steelers defensive line to make some keep Rivers upright, because I think that's going to matter. I gave you this one. I think if I got it, I would have considered locking it up. I think Colts are going to eat them alive. I think the secondary is going to eat them alive. And if the secondary is destroying Pittsburgh's receivers in this one, Pittsburgh has no chance. They just don't, because they're not going to be able to run the ball consistently, because this is a really good run defense as well. And, they're a bad running offense as it is. I think the Colts secondary with guys like Blackman, Kenny Moore, all those guys, I think they're going to eat them alive, and I think they're going to dominate this game.
Yeah, well, I think for Pittsburgh, they're just not even going to run the ball. They're just going to pass it every play, which is pretty close to what they do regardless. And the only real hope I think they have is run a lot of zone busters and just don't turn the ball over. But when Ben Roethlisberger had to have long drives, he really struggled last game. The Colts are great at that, great at just forcing you to have to make some, somewhat dangerous throws, which eventually result in interceptions. So yeah, this seems like a Pittsburgh victory. The only way that I feel like feels like a Colts victory, but the only way I feel like Pittsburgh can win is if they can force Indianapolis into some turnovers, which I know hasn't happened. Rivers has been playing really good football, and he's been protecting the football. It seems like every week we keep saying, well, what if Rivers turns the ball over? And then the show after, we say, okay, well, good job by Rivers. But I do feel like if he were to have a bad game, this is the defense to have a bad game against.
Yeah. No, I could see it. I mean, we keep saying it. We keep waiting for the dam to break with him, and it keeps holding up. He keeps playing at a really good pace. And yeah, I mean, I do think the big thing is that they kept him on his feet. He hasn't had to move. He hasn't had to do anything but sit in the pocket and make throws. And that's something that Los Angeles did not have last year. They had a very bad offensive line, in fact. So having the offensive line at Indianapolis, I think, has just been a godsend for him. So yeah, I mean, I do think the Colts win this one, and it sets up a Nance and Romo treatment for Week 17 as the Steelers and Browns play for the AFC North.
Yes, that could be fun. Although I find it kind of interesting. How much would you care about that? If it's like between the the 5 and the 3 seed, 5 and 4 seed, home field advantage doesn't mean much this year. Would that be worth playing your starters?
Well, so it's interesting. Depending on how it shakes out, they could play back-to-back weeks.
Mm-hmm. That's fun. I remember that's happened before. I remember there was back the Jets and the Bengals did that before you had to have divisional games. That was back in, I think, maybe 2009, 2010. Don't know why that came to my mind, but it has happened before. Not totally unprecedented.
Yeah, they could play back-to-back weeks, so I guess it doesn't technically matter. It's just going to be who has to travel. I don't know. I actually find this playoff thing kind of interesting because they added the extra team this year, and I feel like every year we have a team that's like, oh, they're a playoff team, but they shouldn't really be a playoff team, and they're like that. They're the classic like Saturday at 1:00 Eastern game that nobody wants to watch, and you just kind of throw it away there, and then they get slaughtered by the Chiefs in the second game. There's like 14 good playoff teams. There's probably 16 good playoff teams in the NFL right now. This is a really deep NFL slate, I feel like.
I feel like the one team that I feel that would like that's not that great of a team is the team that started off 11-0.
Yeah. I mean, them and like if the Bears make it are like the two teams that are the Saturday afternoon candidate.
Yeah, hey, don't sleep on the Bears. They still ready to play their best football. All right, let's move on. I'm going to give you I'm glad I feel great about this draft. My top two picks have both fallen to me. I'm going to give you Rams at Seahawks. Who do you got?
Yeah, this was the next game on my list. I don't know. I guess by just, because it's like Goff plays good one week, then he's off the next week. He's going to have his good week, right? No. I mean, I do think the Seahawks win this one because I think that the secondary has played better. And I think the big thing that they have is that their run defense has been really good throughout this, and it was really good at honestly the beginning of the season. They've been a good run defending team. Los Angeles' passing game is established by establishing their running game. They work their passing game off their ground game. If they can't establish that running game, I think they're going to have a tough time throwing the ball. And although I think their defense can make some stops in this one, because Seattle on the other side can't run. These are two weird teams. I do think Seattle's going to win. I think Wilson's going to make just enough plays.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So the first time these two teams played, the Rams won. They won 23-16. And what's interesting about this game is that Russell Wilson did not have a good day against them. He had I think this was like when he had like I think this was kind of like when the media finally said, okay, he's not the MVP. He had 2 picks in this one, did not throw for an interception, and the Rams really their defense played great. It'll be interesting to see what they're able to do on the flip side. But for LA, for the Rams, this is a new Seattle defense. This Seattle defense has played much better. Even though it was just a little over a month ago, they played much better football in this past month. So I do wonder how well they can do against LA. I do think that this is an interesting game, although I think Seattle wins as well, even though they lost the first time, just because I don't think Russell Wilson has that bad day again.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of with that. I don't think that he's going to play that badly. I mean, he really hasn't been great the last few weeks, besides the Jets, but that's different. Maybe he's due for a bounce back week in this one, but I do think they need to figure out what they're going to do with this ground game because it hasn't looked good at all in their last few weeks. But hey, I think he's going to make enough throws. And like I said, I can't trust Jared Goff right now. I just can't. I can't bet for him. I can't pick him. I just can't trust him right now against a good team.
Yeah, well, I mean, you say you don't even count Russell Wilson's good day against the Jets. Well, the Rams just lost to the Jets. So, but I also think that there is something to be said. And again, this is something that shouldn't matter, but I feel like it's happened enough that I feel like it does. When you come off a game where you get completely embarrassed, a good team gets embarrassed, I feel like they come out stronger the next week. There's no evidence to back it up, but it just feels that way.
Yeah, and who knows, at the end of the day, they fell asleep. They weren't thinking this was a real game. They thought they could coast to a win and just look forward to the Seattle game, which is a big game for the division. They probably just fell asleep in that game and they got bit. But I do think that I do think that the Seahawks are able to get it done in this one and I think clinch the division here. So,
yeah, probably. Let's move on. All right, so now it's your turn to give me a game.
All right. The last game, I think, here with major implications for both teams, not just one team, for both teams. I'm going to go with Philadelphia at Dallas.
Okay, Philadelphia at Dallas. Let's see. Where do I have? I'm trying to find my. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So, Yeah, I actually had this one a little bit lower on my list too. Although despite the 2.5 point spread, I just like Philadelphia. And I know Dallas has actually looked decent these past couple of weeks. The Dallas has, they blew out Cincinnati, which apparently, hey, they just looked good against the Steelers. So I don't know. But I have to go down Philadelphia here. I think that with Jalen Hurts, they're just a much better team. And I mean, they just nearly beat the Cardinals and they beat the Saints. I know that's a 2-game sample size. I just feel like Philadelphia, I think they're a better team when they have Jalen Hurts out there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's more fluid. There's less dumb plays and bad throws and under pressure. So all that is going to pay, definitely benefits the Eagles. And yeah, I mean, I do think they're a better football team. I think it's closer than people think, though. I think Dallas, like you said, they have played pretty good football. That offense has started to kind of come along here. And it seems like Dalton, although he's not Dak, I think he's starting to figure some things out and play a little bit better. And Tony Pollard's playing good football too. He played really well last week against the 49ers. So I think that they have an opportunity to move the ball. I just think that the Eagles are more explosive right now with Hurts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it's a controversial opinion that the Eagles are much better. The last time they played, the Eagles won that game, but that was also a Ben DiNucci game. So,
Yes.
Neither team had their best quarterback. Dallas had Ben DiNucci, and the Eagles had Carson Wentz. So I think that's a part of it. Both of these two teams, I believe, still technically have a chance to make the playoffs. So this is a straight-up elimination game. Of course, it won't matter if Washington wins, then they're both out. But for Dallas, I mean, I guess for both teams, at least you get an opportunity to send your division rival home, if nothing else, this season.
Yeah. So does Washington have the tiebreaker over Dallas? Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Dallas can still technically. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Mm-hmm. Sounds good then. Yeah. I mean, that would be interesting. I do think it's going to come down to that Week 17 game. I don't know why. It's just that funny feeling.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. So you're 100% convinced. I guess we don't have to watch the games. We know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for
you heard it here first. Eagles, not Redskins. Eagles balls.
How dare you, sir? Our words. Yeah. All right. Let's move on. I'm going to give you not a lot of great games left, but some fun ones. Broncos, Chargers, a couple of quarterbacks that are not exactly equally good, but young, and I think entertaining for different reasons. Who do you got?
Well, I think Herbert's a huge advantage in this game, but I think Anthony Lynn's a big disadvantage for the Chargers every week. Mm-hmm. So it's such a toss-up to me, but I'm going to go Chargers. I think they're the more talented team right now, and a lot of that has to do with the quarterback, which is just one position, but it's a big position. Eckler's looked really good since he's come back too. I'm going with the Chargers and just taking the talent in this one, despite having, I don't think Fangio's a great coach, but he's a significantly better coach.
Well, I think he's a great coach. I just don't know if he's a great head coach.
Yes. Well, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Lynn could be the same thing too, because his biggest thing is clearly time management, time management, situational management,
right?
Management. No, I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's his biggest thing, but they found a way to win last week. I think they get it done again this week.
Yeah, Tough Puppy has a good point in the chat. Lynn is butt.
Got him.
Yeah, it's a great, well said by the Tough Puppy. Yeah, I mean, and I still do feel like we're 2 weeks away. So we're 2 weeks away. I guess let's have the conversation for Denver. Drew Lock, Vic Fangio. Where are you at now? Is your scale? I still want to see the last 2 weeks. Have you made any decisions on they should get rid of them both? They should keep them both. They should keep one, get rid of the other.
If I were in charge of the Broncos right now, I would be making phone calls about quarterbacks. I would keep Fangio. I would give him one more year, say, hey, with a healthy team, let's see what you can do. You get Juwan James back at right tackle. You get Von Miller back on the defensive side of the ball. You get Cortland Sutton back healthy. I think that I I think that there's pieces there. I would even address like cornerback in the draft. I think that they can get better. And then I would make some phone calls at quarterback. I would see what the availability is of Jimmy Garoppolo. I would see what the availability is of Matt Ryan. I know Matthew Stafford's available.
You
So
know?
it just seems that way based on everything. I would keep Fangio, and I wouldn't draft a quarterback though, because I do think that this team has a ton of talent everywhere else, especially when it's healthy. I think this team is legitimately a quarterback away from being a pretty good football team.
Yeah, I feel like the Denver Broncos, ever since Peyton Manning retired, they've been a quarterback away, but they've been like legitimately a quarterback away. Like it's amazing how they've been able to be really good, except for that one position.
Yeah. So I do think that they address that. I don't. I liked Locke before the season. I've liked him less and less every week, even when he's had good games. Sometimes it's just some bad throws, poor decisions. He can't keep his feet still. I don't know if I'm in love with him anymore.
Yeah, I don't know, and you could keep him too. Like you do have him under contract. You could keep him, try to coach him up, and maybe if you feel like you've got it out of him, then maybe you could give him an opportunity somewhere or something. But yeah, I think it's interesting. We'll see what they do. I also feel like I'm not going to kill them regardless of what they do with either of those guys.
No, that's fair. I mean,
Like,
I think. Go ahead.
like if the Chargers keep Anthony Lynn, then it's like, okay, what are you doing? Like it's not that way with Locke or Fangio.
No, I agree. I think that they're both solid, but I don't think that they're great. And
Yeah.
You could probably make an argument that they're the two weakest points on the roster.
Yeah, and for Fangio, if he gets fired, he has a job in 2 seconds as a defensive coordinator. So,
Oh yeah, he's going somewhere.
yeah, no doubt about it. All right,
Maybe Greg Williams, future defensive coordinator.
yes, great. That's one of the underrated, disappointing things we didn't talk about last week with the Jets winning a game is Greg Williams will not be part of two 0-16 teams.
Yeah, actually, one more point on that. If Fangio is fired, how fun would that be in Vegas?
As in, if he was the defensive coordinator in Vegas.
Yes.
Oh, that'd be incredible. Yeah, sign him up for a Super Bowl. That's a perfect fit. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great stuff. Again, hey, if you're willing to give John Gruden $100 million, give him $100 million. Why not? Just start spending. I mean,
well, bring him in for something, but I don't know about $100 million. But
okay, give him a big whatever. We'll move on.
Yeah, we'll transition that into my next pick, which is going to be Miami at Vegas. Vegas still technically has a chance to make the playoffs, right? They essentially have to win out right? Yeah.
Maybe.
They have to win out, and I think the Dolphins have to lose out, basically.
Okay. Well, they need a lot, and they would need some Ravens losses, I believe, as well.
Yes.
So they're not making the playoffs, so we all know this. But yeah, I guess you can still have some hope. I'm picking Miami here. I just feel like Miami has more to play for. I actually think the Dolphins offense will do well against this Raiders defense. And I just think that this is a game for Miami that was going to be a lot harder a couple weeks ago. And I think no one has to be happier about the Raiders fall off than Miami.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it took out one of their competitors. It made this game a little less meaningful. Raiders can play spoilers here and, make things interesting for week 17. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be good enough. I think Miami's a better matchup. Like you said, they should be able to throw the ball because everyone can throw the ball on the Raiders right now. And, the thing, Mariota was nice last week. But at the same time, if a team, I think that there is something. I did hear this argument. I think it makes a lot of sense. The Chargers were prepared for Carr all week and preparing for Carr. Then all of a sudden they get this quarterback who can run like crazy and is one of the fastest guys on the field. All of a sudden comes in a quarterback. So I think there was something to that maybe it took the Chargers by surprise. Even if they know Mariota's there, they're not prepared for him. So I think the Dolphins do win this one. They're probably a little prepared, and Mariota regresses in this.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, I guess, Carr said he's going to do everything he can to be on the field. I don't know if he'll end up there or not. So that's a question mark, which is part of why I think I want to go with Miami. I do think it's not the end of the world for Mariota. They're paying for a good backup for a reason. But I do still feel like Carr is just a much better player. I mean, there was plenty of missed throws in that game for Mariota that Carr makes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people want to talk about the pick, but the pick was an egregiously bad throw, and that wasn't the only bad throw. It's just the one he didn't get away with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, it's interesting. It'll be a Saturday game, so that's fun. And for Miami, there's a lot of teams that want them to lose this, specifically Baltimore, as they need a loss. And for Miami, they just keep winning. They were able to beat New England, and I just think they have Buffalo next week. My only concern for Miami: don't look ahead. You're playing a team that you should win now. They're playing a team you should beat, but don't get too hyped up on that.
Yeah, that's true. But I think Flores has them ready. I think he's motivated.
Yeah, probably. All right. Any final thoughts on that one?
No, I think we just about covered it. Who are you giving me next?
Okay. I'm going to reach a little bit in terms of point spread. This one, a bit of a bigger point spread than a couple still on the board, but I think there's upset potential given that this is a team that just upset someone else. I'm going to give you Cincinnati at Houston. Who would have thought Houston here, 8-point favorites? Who do you got?
Yeah, I wouldn't touch this line personally. Maybe go money line on this one, but I wouldn't touch the line because that's way too many points for a 4-win football team. But I'm going to take the Texans because Deshaun Watson is the best player on the field. And I think that's just going to make a difference. I think, the secondary played well against Pittsburgh. You have to give the Bengals some credit while also criticizing the Steelers. You have to give them some credit, but defending Deshaun Watson's a whole different thing. He's made the leap this year to me. You can make the argument that Tannehill maybe should have gotten the Pro Bowl spot over him. I know you said Josh Allen. I think, Watson's probably the better case to make if you're a Tannehill believer. But I just think Watson's made the leap this season. I think he's a top 5 quarterback, and I don't know if they can defend him.
Yeah, well, no, I think Deshaun Watson has done better than Josh Allen as well. So that's why he's thrown 27 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. I didn't realize him and Tannehill both have a passer rating of 110. Again, those aren't necessarily the best stats, but I also think that, everyone else in the Pro Bowl consideration has great things around him. Watson, his teams are down every game, and he has to try to throw them back in it, and he's still only thrown 6 interceptions. That's incredible. His ability to protect the football, unless it's getting thrown at his ankles against Indianapolis, it's really been impressive. And their offense has been up and down. It's around him. It's not abysmal, but it hasn't been great either, especially after the suspensions and with some injuries. But yeah, I'm going to bet on Cincinnati on this one. I think 8 points is crazy.
Yeah. I'd probably agree. I think I'd probably go Texans money line and parlay it with a couple other teams. I could see both scenarios happening because the Texans offense can be explosive, and the Bengals, could go right back to being the Bengals. But at the same time, we also just saw both of these teams go in different directions. So I am going to go with the Texans. I do think that they're slightly a better team, and I'd said top 5, but I think he's probably 3 right now in the league. Watson.
Top 3 quarterback in the league? Yes.
I think he's behind the 2 MVP guys.
Okay. Well, for this season, you can definitely make that argument. I don't know if I would say, but he's up there. He's really good. I would have to think about who is better if I didn't pick him. So yeah, he's incredible. Let's move on. Time for you to give me a game.
All right, I don't have to pick my team in this one. I'm going to go – actually, let's hold that thought. I'm changing up on you. Let's go your favorite team, the Minnesota Vikings, at the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, well, this is the perfect game for me, right? The team that I've been pounding the table saying they're good versus the team I've been pounding the table saying they're not good. The Vikings are fine. They're mediocre. That was my whole argument back when everyone got mad at me. And for the Saints – again, I still think the Saints team is good. They had so I uploaded a video today about sort of why Drew Brees had his weird game. They really went with a 2012 Drew Brees game plan where they had him throw the ball down the field constantly, which I was surprised to see. I think they won't do that against Minnesota. We'll see a much more typical Saints game plan. I feel like they felt like they had to do it playing Patrick Mahomes, and so that's why they had him play a lot more aggressive. I think that led to his interception. So not to excuse all of it, but I do think that we're going to see a very different Breeze against Minnesota. It's a Christmas game on Friday, so that's fun. Also, maybe the most underrated rivalry in football, Vikings and Saints fans. The fans, not the teams. The fans.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's true. Speaking of Pro Bowl snubs, Trey Hendrickson, man,
Mm-hmm.
my guy, my
Yeah.
favorite non-gloved football player. Just unbelievable that he didn't make it with the season he's having. The Saints are third in the league, almost second in the league. It's really close, actually. Third in the league, though, in pressure rate in the NFL. I think that while Cousins is a certified, he's not quite cooking in this
Certified
one.
freak.
No, I don't think
7
Cousins
days a week.
geez. Cousins isn't cooking. I don't put him in the cooking category. He's not a chef, but he's
Okay.
been sort of the sous chef this year. He's been sous chefing. He's been sous cooking. And he's not going to do that in this one. I think the Saints pass rush is going to eat him up, and I don't think it's going to happen for this Vikings offense that really kind of needs to be balanced to be at its best. I know Cook's great, but at the same time, their passing defense has been really good. So I think they struggle to move the ball in this one because the pass rush gets to them.
Yeah, I mean, for one thing, I love how the let Russ cook thing has now resulted, and I feel like we've probably said that about every single quarterback.
Oh, it's been
how much
killed.
should they cook? Yeah, it's been cooked to death. That saying. I see some people in the chat are saying that the Vikings always beat the Saints. I think they're forgetting about a specific game in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah,
I think there was
a little bit.
kind of a very notable time that the Saints beat the Vikings. But yeah, no, I mean, the reality is Kirk Cousins might die in this game. With his offensive line against the Saints defensive line, Trey Hendrickson might get more sacks than everyone who made the Pro Bowl combined.
Well, that's a bull take. But no, I mean, I agree. This offensive line, yeah, this offensive line's not very good. And this offensive line's probably the best in the league in terms of front four. So I just think it's a bad matchup for Minnesota. And, even though Saints offense didn't look great last week, I don't see how the Vikings stopped them with their corners.
Yeah, it's really hard to paint the scenario that the Vikings win this game. I think I'll be interested to see. As a Buccaneers fan, I'm going to be interested in seeing how this Vikings run offense does against the Saints run defense. Because if they do well here, I'll feel pretty good. If they don't do well, then maybe the Bucs running offense just wasn't as good as maybe we thought they were.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah. Also, we have a Vikings fan in the chat, Brian J. Vikings are going to roll, and then Saints are cheaters. So goes back to our point of Saints and Vikings fans. Man, there's this one of the best, most underrated rivalry in sports.
Yeah, no, definitely is something you didn't expect if you're, not paying attention to the Saints and Vikings games all the time.
Yes. All right, let's move on. I'm going to give you a game. I'll give you the only game with less than a touchdown spread. I'm going to give you Niners Cardinals. The Cardinals are probably going to win, but let's talk about it.
Yeah, so this is why I love it less than a touchdown spread, because I am locking up Arizona here.
Okay.
San Francisco's dead. Literally, they're gone. They're stuck in – they have gone to hell, and their hell is Arizona, where they now have to play basically all of their football games because their home game and now their road games in Arizona. So this is their hell. They're stuck here, and the Cardinals are going to whip their ass.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good one. Maybe downside. Technically, this is a neutral site, right? Because playing in the same home stadium. No, I mean, right. The Arizona Cardinals always play Kyle Shanahan tough. Now they're playing the corpse of the San Francisco 49ers. So you got to think. I picked Arizona to win week 1 for the very reason of the coaching matchup. Just, that's Kingsbury's one where for all the Kingsbury haters out there, he just says, well, look at what I do to San Francisco twice a year. You got to think they're going to win. I think for San Francisco, maybe they just run the clock. But this is a good lock of the week from you. I should have left it for the last one once I didn't realize what you're doing.
Yeah. I feel confident with this one. Somebody I feel really bad for because I don't think he's going to play. Raheem Mostert. This guy is so fun to watch when he can stay on the field. The problem is he's just never on the field. This guy seems always to be hurt, But the one thing I do like about next gen is it shows how fast he actually is, because he always has the fastest runs in the league. And the way that he's able to just run that zone run to the outside tackle and then just run past everybody, it's so awesome to see. And it's just such a bummer that he can't stay on the field.
Yeah, very unfortunate. I believe it was him who, after in his interview for the NFC Championship game, the reporter said, "Thanks and good luck in the Super Bowl," and he said, "Thanks you too," which is just one of my all-time favorite lines that anyone's ever said. Yeah, for the Cardinals, this is a big win, trying to make the playoffs, and they play the Rams next week. So Saturday game. This is a game they must win. I mean, this is as big of a must win as you can get, because if they lose this one, there's a good chance they lose next week, and the Bears are hanging around. There's a very real chance that the Cardinals, if they lose this game, they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, the schedule favors the Bears, which is crazy. But I do think that with this being a must-win game, I think they come out for this one and they just get the job done and move on, because they're the way better team. There's no reason the way we've seen San Francisco play these last few weeks, as they basically have half the roster left of who they thought was going to be their impact guys. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, losing to the Dallas Cowboys, there were some fluky plays in that one, but still, one of the fluky plays was their Hail Mary with the end of the game to make it a one-score loss. So fun stuff there. But yeah, I mean, losing to Washington, that's not great. Losing to Buffalo, I mean, you look at this, the recent schedule, though. They've had to run the gauntlet before losing to Dallas, which wasn't great. Before then, they played Washington, who's good. They played Buffalo, the Rams, the Saints, the Packers, the Seahawks. Like, they had this incredibly difficult stretch. It's been a tough schedule, been a tough season. I think this is probably it's the end of the road for the 49ers, but this is probably their last opportunity, I feel like, to maybe get one more win, because they play Seattle next week. I don't see that happening unless they rest the starters.
Yeah. But like you've said, Arizona, even when San Francisco has been good, they played them really well.
Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe Kyle Shanahan can pull something out against a mediocre defense, but who knows? Let's move on. Time for you to give me a game.
All right, I'll just give you my team. Buffalo at New England. Go for it.
Okay, Buffalo, the Bills, the AFC East champions, playing the Patriots. You don't hear that too often. Wild stuff. Yeah, I mean, obviously Buffalo is the better team here, but I think this is a good pick. I'm really regretting not giving you this one instead of the Niners Cardinals now, simply because no team beats teams that they're clearly not as good as more than the Patriots. The Patriots they've been like the number one upset team of the year.
Yeah. I mean, they have been, and they had the ball at the 20-yard line with a chance to win this game too. Cam Newton fumbled on that one earlier in the season. So, I do think this game's going to be closer than people think, because that's just what the Patriots do. They've really only been steamrolled twice this season for a team that hasn't looked good for long stretches. And weirdly, it's two NFC West teams that steamrolled them. But anyway, I do think that this is a team that plays competitive. I do think Gilmore being out is going to kill them, because, the best part about it was that they could throw Gilmore on Diggs and try and take care of that matchup, or not have to worry about it, at least game plan wise. I think J.C. Jackson's good, but I don't think he's good enough to slow down Diggs. He had to do it the last game, and he did a fair job, because Gilmore was out that one too. I think he did a decent job against Diggs last time. I just don't see it happening again. I got Buffalo, who's sort of gotten better on offense as the season progressed.
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, the last time it was close, but that was kind of a surprise that it was that close. So we'll see if Buffalo can maybe play a better game. They're going to Foxborough again, what's been a house of horrors for them for a couple of decades now. So it'll be tough to get this victory. It's a divisional game. In divisional games, weird things happen, especially when you're going up against the greatest coach of all time. So this is no guarantee by any means. But again, for Buffalo, this is win this game. You want to show that you're legit. This is another one of those. You just go ahead, you're the better team now. Go in and win by 100, right? Like this is if you want to be the top dog, well, win it by a lot.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a fair argument. Josh Allen has still only beat the Patriots once, and we had a chance to win it earlier in the season. So maybe we pull out some Patriots magic in this one. I don't see it happening. I think the Patriots are kind of over the season. Even the Cam stuff. I think everybody likes Cam, but at the same time, I think even like him being here and having that change of pace is kind of just soured. I think everyone's just kind of over this season.
Yes, the great Sauce Boss in the chat says, "Rest in peace, Kyle." For the first time ever since most of the people's in this chat's alive. The Bills have finally won the AFC East. Yeah, it's been quite the run. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And Monday Night Football, I feel like this is the kind of thing where typically this would be an annoying Monday Night Football game, but simply because it's the Patriots and all that history, I'm actually looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be a good game. Like I said, I think it's going to be closer. If I'm betting, I might actually bet Patriots +7. But I just don't see a way they pull out this win. I don't see the way they scored enough points.
Yeah, it would be tough. Also, I feel like, the Cam Newton of week 7, week 8, not quite the same Cam Newton that we've been seeing these past few weeks.
He can't throw. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I've said this a few weeks now. He throws the ball into the ground on a 10-yard pass. Damiere Byrd's been wide open, it seems like 50% of the time, and hasn't got the ball. Like, I don't get it's like I said, I continue to say it. I like Cam as a person. I think a lot of the stuff in the media was completely overblown. Everyone really likes him in the locker room, but at the end of the day, you also have to execute, and he hasn't executed.
Yeah, and hey, the Bills, AFC champions or AFC East champions. We'll see what they can do in the playoffs.
All right,
great stuff. Let's move on. Kyle's about to leave the show, so we gotta pick a different game. So I'm just making sure it's my turn to give you a game. Not a lot of great ones left. We got the close. None of them are even a touchdown spread at this point. There is one that is a 7.5, and it's what, I won't give you that one. I'm not. I will give you this one. I'm going to give you Bears Jaguars. Even though it's the Jaguars, it's also the Bears, and everyone keeps talking about the Jets. It's the most Jets thing in the world to lose that game and lose out on Trevor Lawrence. It would also be the most Jaguars thing in the world for them to win this game and lose out on Trevor Lawrence.
I feel like there's two scenarios here that happen, and there's nothing in between. Scenario number one is Mitch Trubisky throws for like 400 yards in this one, and he gets that like 3 years, $71 million contract. That Bridgewater
It'll probably
contract.
Be scenario 2 then.
And scenario 2 is Mitch Trubisky throws like 4 interceptions, and either the Jaguars win or the Bears win this one like 17-12. It's going to be one of those two scenarios. I'm leaning towards scenario 1 or something. He's going to have like a 370 in this game, 3 touchdowns. Mitch Trubisky's back. They're going to give him that 3 years, $71 million contract, similar to the Bridgewater range, and then it'll just be Bears football over again next year.
I like this move of like giving 2 wild takes, so that way you can pick the slightly less wild ones, or like one of them, so that way it's like people are like, well, I guess it is maybe more likely for him to get a $100 million deal than throwing 4 interceptions against the Jaguars. But it's like, no, neither of those are likely.
No, it's going to happen.
Okay.
I do think that I picked the Bears in this one. I think the Jaguars aren't going to move the ball. They're just not. And, I think he's played pretty well in these last few weeks. I think he's been solid. And I think Trubisky can at least put up 25, 30 points on this team because it's a bad defense.
Yeah, well, Mitchell Trubisky is a good. He's like Mariota. Like, he's not. If he comes into a game, he's competent. Choi Butcher in the chat says Mitch is 5-2 this year. That's one of my favorite stats. Is that how much he's won despite? It's almost like one of those Alex Smith stats with the. I think he's like 10-5 as a starter with the Washington football team, despite throwing for like 210 yards a game. I think that. But I don't think he's been that good. Like, he's not been terrible. He's fine. We know what he is. He's I think he probably is a top 32 quarterback in the league, but he's certainly not someone you want to give a big deal to. But at the same time, they clearly can have some success with him. It's a lot of rollouts, a lot of things the outside, and their running game worked, and that was a key issue. And I'm interested in seeing how this running game continues to play, because David Montgomery, he's knocking on the door of a Pro Bowl as well. I mean, he's had a really good second half of this season.
Yeah. He's played well the last few weeks, and yeah, this Jaguars defense, I can't say it enough. Just a complete train wreck. I think they've locked up the number 1 pick. I really don't see them winning another game. I know that's not a hot take, but I just don't see it. I don't see any scenario where this team wins.
I can tell you a scenario.
All right, go.
Next week, they play the Indianapolis Colts. They've already beaten the Colts, for one thing, so they got that. But, Colts, very different team. Jaguars, very different team. However, what if the Colts lock up their playoff spot? They don't play their starters. Jaguars win that football game, go 2-14, miss out on Trevor Lawrence, where he can become a bust with the New York Jets.
If they beat the Colts again, that'd be so funny.
And then the Colts win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. That could be another rigged game. Roger Goodell needs Trevor Lawrence in New York.
Mm-hmm. Probably, especially because that totally matters in the NFL.
Yes, definitely. All right, I'm just going to give you your team now. We'll go back to back Florida.
You're tired of talking about this one.
Yeah, I'm done. I don't know. I don't even know if you have anything else to say about this one, but so Tampa Bay at Detroit, another Florida team. Who do you got?
Yeah, this is interesting. Again, not a great transition there, Kyle. I have to be honest. Another Florida team. There's a reason why I'm the host here. There's I know what I'm doing. Yes. This is the one I almost gave you instead of Bears Jaguars. I just feel like for Tampa Bay, there is actually something to play for, even though I guess technically they could get a number 1 seed, but they would need like 9 things to go right in these past 2 weeks to do it. Chances are that's not going to happen. But if they win out, they have the track to a 5 seed, which is obviously all important since you played the NFC East champion. So I do think that they're going to try and win this one. Detroit is scrappy, but yeah, I mean, this is obviously a Tampa Bay. This should be a Tampa Bay victory. This is another Saturday game, so it'll be fun for me. I feel like because then I can just watch Sunday, with no pressure. But for Tampa Bay, learn how to blitz protect. You'll be fine. I wish Matt Patricia was coaching this game because then, if we struggle to stop 5, we can stop 4 pretty well. We'd be great against 3. But yeah, I think that is when the Bucs blitz protect, they look like the best offense in the league.
Yeah, I want to see them come out and throw the ball like 45 times in this one. I mentioned it last week when I said the Titans were going to win by $1 billion. They only won by 21. Sorry, they only won by 21, but pretty close to $1 billion. The Lions give the ball up downfield, give up downfield passing yards all the time. This is just a chunk play kind of defense. They can't defend the pass very well. I want to see Brady come out and hurl this ball around and really show their stuff. And I wanted them to flex on them a little bit. That's what I want to see. Yeah,
it would be nice just to get don't go down 17 in this one. And even against the Vikings, it could have looked better. Just have one of those games like back earlier in the season when they were blowing out Carolina and blowing out Denver and blowing out the Raiders. Do what you're supposed to do against a bad team.
Yeah, but even in those games, it was like those games were weird until like the second half. I really want to see them just come out and blitz a team. Yeah, I mean, at the same time, I think you want to see every if any team played their best football for 60 minutes, they're 19-0 Super Bowl champions. But this has been a very extreme version of inconsistency. Yeah. So I mean, I would take Tampa. I want to see it just for that regard. But yeah, I mean, if things go right their way this week with the Seahawks, and they take care of business themselves, they're in the driver's seat for 5 seed. Yeah. Who would you take the Bucs to cover 9.5 point spread? Yes. Yeah, I think Lions can't defend. I don't know how. I got to give a lot of credit to Matthew Stafford for playing through injuries. It seems like almost every year, but I don't know how healthy he is, especially against his pass rush. You said Kirk Cousins might die. Matthew Stafford might die in this one. So, I mean, I would take the Bucs minus 9.5. Yeah, I heard this on part of my take. It's very true. It's with the Lions. Matt Stafford plays through injuries every year. Frank Ragnow had a fractured throat, which I don't really understand how that happens, and he played through that. Guys like Calvin Johnson, Barry Sanders,
They got rid of it. They knew what to do. They stepped away early. What do you? This is the Lions. Relax a little.
Yeah, no kidding. That's insane.
Sit it out. Sit a game out
Yeah.
or two.
Yeah. I hope Stafford finds a new team, honestly. He needs a new team.
Yeah, so be interested to see him go to the Jets next year. All right. Denver. Yeah, well, that would be good. Okay, I'm going to give you a game. Not a lot here. All right. I guess I'll give you Giants-Ravens, 10-point spread. What do you got?
Ravens. We like this Giants team for a stretch, and I think it was rightfully so. This defense is competitive. I think it's a good defense, but this is we make fun of the Bears offense. This is the worst offense in the NFC and pretty close to the worst offense in the NFL. Just a complete train wreck. They can't move the ball enough, and I don't know who's quarterback this week. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if you're on this one, but either one of them is going to throw 2 interceptions at least.
Well, I mean, for the Giants, I think that really the issue has been their, I'll say this: their offensive line and their running game has been inconsistent, but it did play pretty well. I thought so. There is that. I don't know what the quarterback situation is either right now. I'm not sure if it's been announced. I do think that I don't think it matters that much, to be honest. I do like Colt McCoy just because he won't turn the ball over as much. But the way that they have to win this game is the win at the way they have to win games is to win at 17-14. And I don't know if they can do that against Baltimore. So I almost kind of feel like the opposite. I feel like Daniel Jones would actually probably be a much better fit now that I think about it, because he can at least run against a secondary that likes to play man a lot. And I do feel like he's more capable of putting up 28 points, even though he'll probably help you score 7 to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think from the Ravens side, as Mark 21 said, the reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated. I think everyone was ready to cast off this Ravens team really quick, and they're kind of back now. So, yeah, I mean, I think they're back.
Yeah. No. I thought that. For what you said, Mark. I thought you said Mark 21, and I was looking in the chat for where's Mark 21. Let me find it. Oh, so someone very insulting. I'm gonna. Should I put him in timeout or block them? What do you say? Someone insulted you.
No, it's fine. Just leave him. It's okay.
I'm gonna put him in timeout. I'm gonna put him in timeout for 5 minutes.
Oh, I guess you can put him in timeout.
Yeah,
it's all right.
All right, be careful. It's also dude on the left looks like if mediocre cocaine was a person. I guess that's a compliment.
I don't know. Thanks for the watch, though, man. That's cool.
Yeah, appreciate it. Feel free to come in here and try to figure out, make fun of our looks. Just be nice. Don't put it in the chat. All right, let's move on. Wait, no, we're still on this game. Yeah, I think Lamar Jackson is going to continue playing awesome. I think he's going to run all over this defense also, even though it's a good defense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Sorry, I'm reading the chat.
I know. It's distracting.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do think that they're able to kind of go crazy on this team. I think the Giants defense, like I said, is competitive, but I don't think it's enough to slow down this Baltimore offense, who, like I said, have kind of figured things out. And I just think the Ravens are too good. This isn't a hot take, but I think they win this one.
Yeah, I think so too. For the Ravens, again, it's like if I'm an AFC team, if I'm one of those teams like the Chiefs or the Bills, I don't want Baltimore squeaking in there.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, they play their best football. They're tough. All right.
I think they're going to make the playoffs, but I wouldn't want to play them right now. I think they could be an AFC championship team.
Yeah, I mean, again, we talked about they're a team that maybe would. I mean, if they were an AFC championship team, they'd probably have to, because they're probably going to get a 7 seed, maybe a 6, but that would probably result in them beating the Chiefs round 2, which isn't impossible.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's more than 0%.
Yeah, agreed. Let's move on. So now it's time for you to give me a game. There's 2 games left. You got the Browns Jets and Falcons Chiefs. You got the best team in football and no longer the worst team in football, but they're not playing each other. Which one are you going to give me?
Well, by tiebreakers for the standings, they're the worst team in football. But right. I'm going to give you Chiefs Falcons.
Yeah, very, very bizarre thing. But I mean, so I also had this one ahead, even though there's a 1 point difference in the point spread, because I do feel like Atlanta has been scrappy. And for Kansas City, I do kind of feel like you can't keep letting teams get back into games. Can you just win one? And for the Atlanta Falcons, their answer is like, oh, well, how tough of a situation for Kansas City? They keep almost blowing games. That must be real rough.
Yeah, no kidding. It's one team that almost blows games to a team that loses every game that they go up. Just incredible stuff from Atlanta. This city needs help. I continue to say it. It needs help. There needs to be an exorcist. No one's ever listened to me. So yeah, I mean, Chiefs are going to dominate though.
I like the idea of you being annoyed that they haven't listened to you, that they need an exorcist. Why isn't the city paying attention? They never respond to my letters.
I don't get it. Like, it's such an easy thing to do. It's a simple 5-minute ceremony you could do it at the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium thing. You could do it there. Just get it over with and, figure something out.
Maybe it's the curse of the Thrashers. I know they weren't good before then, but also they didn't blow games like this. I'm blaming the Thrashers.
It could be. Who is it? Turbo Warrior 23 said, LOL, Falcons will be up 35-0 against Kansas City and then lose 52-35. No, this game's going to be Falcons up 35-0. They're going to go down 49-35 early in the second half, and then they're going to find a way to lose it 49-48.
Yeah, exactly. That's perfect. But I feel like Matt Ryan's had an underrated season. Like, he hasn't been great. This has been another, he's not what I don't think he's ever going to win an MVP again or anything like that. But like, if I'm Atlanta, I'm not trying to get rid of him immediately, even though he is on kind of a tough contract. Like, you can win with Ryan. I
mean, I feel like outside of the year they made the Super Bowl, every year from him's kind of been an underrated Matt Ryan season. I get it. I mean, he's been really good. There's still some things about his game, even how far into his career, that I don't love. I feel like he's the king of taking the sack at the worst opportunity. Like, literally every time they're at the 35-yard line, I feel like he's getting sacked, and it's just moving the field goal back. Now, Younghoe Koo is good enough to actually make the field goal, but yeah, I mean, so I don't know. I think he's still really good though. I mean, he still lights it up at times. Yeah, I mean, he's good.
Yeah, I mean, he had a great game against Tampa Bay one day, especially when Tampa Bay struggled to get pressure. And in the second half, though, again, too many 3-and-outs there, and that's kind of the issue. Is I do think he probably deserves some blame for these collapses at the end too, though. I'll give him some credit, but yeah, I guess I will also say that. And hey, Calvin Ridley, he's had a great season.
Yeah, another Pro Bowl snub potentially. I mean, I think there's too many good wide receivers in the NFC, but I guess that's the other thing you could say about Ryan. Has anyone ever been like more fortunate with offensive talent around them? Like, it was Roddy White, Tony Gonzalez, Julio Jones,
in terms
Calvin
of weapons,
Ridley.
Yeah. In terms of weapons,
he's got so many guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they've been a good
like
situation.
Russell Gage might be like the third best or one of the best third receivers in the league too.
Yeah, probably not the best. I think Antonio Brown might hold that.
Well, yeah, but he's still up there.
Yeah, right. All right, let's move on. Okay, let's talk Browns Jets. Who would have thought these two teams? They used to be two sides of the same coin. Now the Browns are looking at the Jets. It's like the Principal Skinner like pathetic meme. The Browns are should be the bullies in this one. And the Jets, of course, once again, despite their win, still last on our list.
Yeah, I don't see them doing it twice in a row. I guess, just in case anyone's curious, I'm picking the Browns in this one. So get that out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually interested in this line because, one of the things I said about that game last week is that no matter who the Browns play, they're going to play their style, which is we're going to make this game ugly and as quick as possible. We're going to run the ball. We're going to control the clock. They did it against the Giants team. They were way better then. And that game, they probably could have scored 40. They ended up winning at 20-6 because they don't care. That's their style of football. Now, if they play the Jets, are they going to do the same thing? I'm actually kind of interested to see how they approach this game. I'm kind of thinking that Stefanski is going to stick to the same game plan, and that makes that line really tough to gauge.
Yeah, and what's interesting, I think, as well is that good interior defensive line for the Jets. That's one of the few things they have well, and so for Cleveland, running up the middle might not be such a good strategy. Although they spread the wealth in the running game, so and I don't know exactly how healthy their offensive line will be. So maybe there is some potential trouble there. That's the hope for, I guess, for the Jets here with this game going last. Last time this was the Jets went last and it got the upset. You hope that maybe Sam Darnold can sort of pull off some Sam Darnold magic. I feel like both their offense and defense has played better down the stretch. Maybe there's a bit of a matchup thing. Maybe Darnold can put up 24 points, and the Browns can, again, like you said, they don't have a ton of possessions. Maybe that's to a bad team like the Jets' favor, better chance of an upset.
Yep. Yeah, it'll be interesting. These were the first two quarterbacks taken in that draft too, right?
Well, yeah, because only Barkley was second pick, and then Darnold was the third pick.
Did I ask you this? Who would you take if you had to redraft that draft? Who would you take, Allen or Lamar?
I'd still take Lamar. I think that what Lamar did when he had great talent around him was win an MVP. What Josh Allen has done when he's around him has been a Pro Bowler. Yeah, which I mean that's still great. And again, it doesn't really matter. Like you could say Lamar's had a better stretch as a whole, but really all that matters is who are you today. And Allen is definitely like I don't hold his first two seasons against him. I'd be very happy with either one of them, but I just think that Lamar's. I care more about if I put a team around you, can you win a Super Bowl? I do believe that with Lamar. I haven't yet seen it with Josh Allen. So and they're both still young. They're both still improving.
Yeah. Not to get too off topic, but yeah, I mean, so back to this game, we're seeing conflicting reports on if Wyatt Teller's playing here in the chat. I did see somewhere that he's unlikely to play. And to be honest, if he's unlikely to play, if I'm the Browns, I don't play him because there's no point trying to bring him back in this game. Save him for the playoffs. So, I mean, I still think the Browns get the job done. That's not a hot take, obviously. But it could make a nice little matchup between that interior defensive line, like you talked about, against the interior offensive line of the Browns. I still think that they're good enough running the ball that they're going to be able to move it.
Yeah, I believe, if I understand correctly, the Browns have to win and the Steelers have to lose next week for them to have a shot at the wild. Yeah, so because the Pittsburgh would hold the tiebreaker due to their more divisional wins, even with a loss to the Browns. So, or would they? Now I'm confused. I'm not sure. But moving on.
I believe they would.
Okay. So, would like to get a win here. Very important. It's interesting. I also think, one last thought I had. I was trying to find it. Do you think the Jets are going to want to win even more just despite their fan base that now hates all of them?
That'd be funny, but
I would. If I'm Sam Darnold, I looked on Instagram. Sam Darnold, so people were talking about it on Reddit, so I checked it out. Sam Darnold, like his most recent Instagram post was like something about charity, and like all of the most recent comments were just like, "You asshole! How dare you do good in play decent football that cost us a guy who's going to replace you next year."
Yeah, I mean,
Jets fans, calm down.
It's not Sam Darnold's fault.
Yeah, what's he supposed to? Yeah, he wasn't even that good. He was fine.
Listen, if the Jets actually wanted to tank, they just would have played all of their practice squad guys. If the Jets coaching staff didn't want to win the game, they would have put in all the practice squad guys. They didn't have to play Darnold. It's not his fault.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. If management, you know what? I'll say this for Jets ownership: if you want to tank, here's what you do. All right, you get one of the hot take commentators on get Colin Cowherd to be your head coach, right? He would do it. Why wouldn't he? And he would do terrible. Yeah. You're going to lose every game. He would accept it. You go 0-16, get rid of him, and have him be your interim head coach.
You know what? Actually, I'll do it one further. Okay. I will play quarterback for the New York Jets if you want to lose the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
I am putting in my application now. Let me play quarterback for the Jets for the last 2 weeks. I guarantee you will lose both games by a lot. If you saw Kendall Hinton, it's going to be a lot worse. So I am putting my application in to be quarterback for any team that wants to lose for the last 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, exactly. I think a good move is if you think you might tank, maybe just like draft a quarterback in the 7th round that you know sucks, or get like an undrafted guy and just be like, we want to see what we have in him.
Yeah.
There's better ways to do it. And you know what else you have to do? You have to get a head coach who's in on it. Because last year, Zach Taylor benched Andy Dalton because he knew he was going to be around a year after. Lovie Smith, he benched Mike Evans when they were up against the Saints in Week 17 because he knew he would be around the next year, and the Bucs got Jameis Winston. Maybe would have been better off not tanking that year. But the point stands that, like, if you want to tank, you got to get a head coach who's going to be there next year.
Yeah. No, I agree.
People in the chat, very, very mad at me for my joke about Colin Cowherd. Okay, maybe you think he'd be an incredible head coach. All right, I'm not saying that I just don't think he'd be. But how about this? Put me in as head coach. I would be terrible.
We're officially asking the New York Jets to hire the On the Sideline podcast.
Sure,
as
why
their
not?
Official, as the future of the franchise for just one season. If you want to tank, Jackson is head coach. I will play quarterback. Guaranteed 0-16 season.
Yes, although I think Bill Belichick might get mad at us as the big fans of the On the Sideline podcast for going to the Jets.
Yeah, he is a huge fan, so that'd be tough.
Yes, I also like how now there's people people in the chat who are both talking great about Colin Cowherd.
Colin Cowherd get so many fans?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was just an easy guy to throw out there as like just sort of a funny, like, I don't know. I don't even hate him. I probably like him more than most people, but apparently not. Apparently everyone loves him. He's universally loved.
I guess you should have said Max Kellerman because nobody likes that guy.
Oh, you're gonna get all the Kellerman heads at you now.
Kellerman stands.
Yeah,
Kellerman stands.
Exactly. He's a tough puppy. Cowherd would outcoach Andy Reid. Somehow, at the end of every show, I feel like something goes wrong. Something is weird. Now it's everyone's mad at us for making the hot take that Colin Cowherd would not be a good NFL head coach.
Yeah, the hottest of takes.
Tyler Phillips in the chat. Kellerman is a god. So, all right, let's get off this before everyone's mad at us.
Yeah, we need to cut this chat off. It's been drinking too much. Someone call a cab for everybody in the chat.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, that's our show. Again, if you missed what we said earlier, we have the official On the Sideline podcast Twitter now, so you can check us out on Twitter if you want to always make sure, because like a show like today, we did it on Tuesday instead of Wednesday. We told you before, but maybe if you missed that show, if you follow us on Twitter, you'll always be here. Also, so we're still going to have our show Saturday at midnight, but then next week, or Sunday. Yeah, sorry. Sunday at midnight. But then next week, we're going to have it on Thursday at 9:00.
Yes.
Right.
Thursday night, the following week. Make sure to tune in. Yeah. And then follow us, like you said, at On the Sideline JK. It's good stuff. The Twitter account's funny. Getting it going, so we need followers. Make sure to follow us there.
Yes, follow us there. Just follow us on Twitter and chat. I'm Jackson Kruger, Kyle Grondin.
Yeah. We need followers.
Kyle Grondin. Yeah, exactly.
By Kyle Grondin, yes.
We tweet too much and we get bored. All right. Thank you guys for watching again. We appreciate it. And we'll see you Sunday at midnight. And until next time, have a good one.
Peace.